This week, we are going to talk about this new card, OE. And OE says O. OE makes the long O sound. So listen to this sentence, okay? Joe's foe goes tiptoe. Does anybody know what a foe is? A foe is like an enemy. So Joe's foe or Joe's enemy is tiptoeing to Joe. I'm going to read that sentence one more time. Joe's foe goes tiptoe. All of those words have the OE, says O in the word. All right, so this is similar to the toe on your foot, TOE. All right, let's look at the card. The card looks like this. So when you see this card, OE, you're going to say O. All right. We now know 4 ways to write the long O sound. So I'm going to do 2 things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write those 4 different ways, and then I'm going to trace them into the sand. So I'm going to pretend like this is my sand tray, and I'm breaking it into 4 parts. The first way that we learned how to spell O was just the letter O. I'm underlining that so you know where it would sit on the line. Okay, so if I had lined paper, O sits on the line. All right, the second way that we learned, and actually you learned this in first grade, is O-E. Says O, kind of like the sneaky E. The third way, O-A, says O. And then the fourth way that we are learning today is O-E, says O. All right, I'm going to get my sand and I'm going to practice writing that in the sand. If you have anything tactile at your house or even just a piece of paper, I would like for you to do this with me. Let's make 4 parts. The first way to spell long O is O. The second way, O-E. The third way, O-A, says O, and the fourth way, O-E, says O. So this goes back to that video that you've probably seen when 2 vowels go walking. These are 2 examples, O-A and O-E. All right. We're going to practice writing some words that have this sound. I would like for you to get a piece of paper and do this with me. Now, I have paper like this, but you don't need paper like this. You can just have a piece of notebook paper. I'm going to say the word, and then we're going to pound, tap, and write it. If you need to pause as you write, that's perfectly fine. The first word is Joe. 1 syllable, Joe. J-O. Now, this week I'm learning long O. It can be spelled with O-E. And typically, if the long O sound is at the end of the word, it's going to be O-E. All right? So, Joe. That's a person's name. J-O. Joe. Now, I'm going to rewrite it over here. So, if you were on notebook paper, you would just write it. You could write it closer than that. Okay. Number 2, foe. Remember we talked about foe? It's like an enemy. Foe. F-O. F-O. O-E spells foe. All right. The third word is doe. Doe. D-O. And this is like a deer. D-O. Now, I'm going on my paper. I'm going to skip number 4 and go to number 5. You can use number 4. But the reason is because I need 3 lines. The second word, or the fifth word is oboe, which is an instrument. Oboe. That's 2 syllables. O-B-O. oboe. 3 sounds, 2 syllables. O, b, o, oboe. And then the last one that we are going to do is hoe cake. All right. Hoe cake. O, k, a, k. Wow. 5 sounds. All right, let's see if we can do it. H, O, k, a, k. Now, this means there's a magic E that we put there. Remember how I said that usually that long O is going to be at the end of the word? This is kind of an exception, kind of not. The reason that it was OE here is because that's a compound word. So this could be a word by itself. All right, let's skip down to the sentences, and I don't have a place for sentences. I'm going to grab this paper over here for the sentences. I'm just going to turn my paper over. Okay. All right. So sometimes, I've told you this before, at night, Henry gets up and he sleeps all over the house in different places. And this morning when I woke up, he was in the floor in my room. So I asked my husband, did he tiptoe across the rug? And that's our sentence. Did he tiptoe across the rug? All right, so we've got 6 words. All right, so number 1 sentence. Let's do 6 lines. Did he tiptoe across the rug? Remember, with cups, we need a capital letter at the beginning. We need to make sure it makes sense. We need punctuation. We need to spell everything correctly. All right, this is like a little mountain. Okay. So did, that's the beginning of the sentence. We need a capital D. Did he tiptoe? We talked about that recently. Tiptoe across, that's a red word, the rug. Now, if I am asking a question, what ending mark should I use? That's right, a question mark. All right. Do I have a capital letter? Yes. Does this make sense? Yes. Do I have punctuation at the end? Yes. And is everything spelled correctly? Yes. All right. This is the end of day 1. All right. So you know how this works. You can pause or you can go on with me, but you need to watch day 1 on day 1. And even if you complete the video on day 2, I still want you to watch what you were supposed to watch on day 2, even if that means you watch it twice. Okay? All right. Day 2, what we're doing is we're learning some red words. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to review red words that we already know. And the 2 red words we already know are many and could. Let's say those again. Many and could. Now, you will need a piece of paper for this activity. And it would be really good if you could find a red crayon, although that's not required. All right, so we've got 3 red words this week, and I'm going to start with the first one. Does anybody know this word? This is about. It is about time for pumpkins and Halloween. It is about time for pumpkins and Halloween. All right, the second thing that I want to do with this is I want to tap this on my arm. Okay, let me turn the video camera down just a bit. All right, so you probably remember doing this in first grade, but what you're going to do is you're going to put one arm out and you are going to tap your arm for each letter. All right, we're going to do the word about. Do it with me. A-B-O-U-T. And then roll your hand and say the word about. All right, let's do it again. A-B-O-U-T, about. One more time. A-B-O-U-T, about. All right, the next thing that I want you to do is get that red crayon and let's write the word about. Okay, I'm going to use a red marker. And I want you to write it. A-B-O-U-T, about. And then let's tap it again. A-B-O-U-T, about. All right. Now we're going to move to the next red word for today. The next red word is, do you know it? Whose. Say that with me. Whose. All right. So this is like, whose ball is in my yard? Who does this belong to? Whose ball is in my yard? Now this can be tricky because this is also whose, but this one means who is. Okay, like who's coming to my party? All right, and this is something belongs to someone whose. All right, this is the one we're focusing on this week. All right, let's tap, arm tap, whose. Arms out. Let me get it in the video. Okay. W-H-O-S-E, whose. One more time, or two more times. W-H-O-S-E, whose. And again, W-H-O-S-E, whose. Now get that red crayon or pencil or marker or just regular pencil, and let's write this word. So remember, our first word was about. Our second word is whose. W-H-O-S-E, whose. All right. So we've learned about and whose. And then we're going to do one more. Our third word is done. Now, the reason that these are red words is because you can't really sound it out. If you sound out done, you don't, you would probably put a U, and that's not correct. All right. So done. Arm out. D-O-N-E, done. D-O-N-E, done. And one more time. D-O-N-E, done. And you better be doing this with me because I know I look silly, but this is how we learn sometimes. All right, so let's write the word done. Okay. And kind of chant it like you were when you were tapping. D-O-N-E, done. D-O-N-E, done. So the three words that we learned today were about, whose, and done. Those are our three red words. And you'll see these on a spelling test in the next week or so. All right. This is the end of day 2. And now we're moving on to day 3. Day 3. Day 3, we're going to do some syllabication. And that means that we're going to take some words and we are going to break them down and read them. Okay. Now, typically, all the words that we do have the sound that we're working on for the week, but this week we've got some of the OE and then some just multisyllabic words, and that means they've got more than one syllable, so we're practicing that. All right, so here we go. We've got this first word. Remember that the first thing we do is find the vowels. Remember that the vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, not always. If Y is making a vowel sound like I or, let's see, E. Okay, like in the word candy, it ends with a Y, but it's saying E. My first name is Emily, and it's spelled with a Y on the end, but it's making the E sound. Okay. All right, so let's start here. We know this is a vowel team, so that counts as one vowel. Here's a vowel. Draw a bridge. All right, so we've got a choice. We've got two consonants. We can break it before the consonants or in between the consonants. Now, I noticed that I know that word right there, skin, and so I think this is probably a compound word. So I'm going to break it here. All right. This is open, meaning that this is going to be long. This is closed because the vowel is in between two consonants, so it's going to be short. All right, let's read. D-O, sk-in. Put it together. Doe-skin. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, so first thing that we do is mark our vowels. So we've got 1, 2, 3. All right, bridge and bridge. All right, so then consonants. All right, now don't get worried because that's a lot going on. The only thing you do is you worry about the first little step and then the second set. So don't be overwhelmed, okay? So the first set, where should we break this? Well, remember our choice is before the consonants or in between the consonants. I don't recognize anything here, and so I'm going to break them in between the consonants. And I'm going to come to my second set. I know that ER usually needs to stay together, so I'm going to break it in between the consonants. All right. Now we've got 3 syllables, so we read each syllable by itself. Af, math. Aftermath. So after something happens, like if there is a bad weather event and it does some damage, the aftermath is the damage after the storm occurs. Okay, we're going to do one more. And the last one that we're going to do is here. That's a big word, isn't it? Okay. Vowels. Vowel team. Bridge. Now, consonant, consonant. 3 consonants. All right, let's look. All right, if I break it in front, then I'm going to have a long A there. If I break it in between the 2 T's, the T is going to work for both. So I'm going to choose to break it here. All right. And sometimes you have to break it, check it, and then go back and fix it, and that's okay. All right. The second group is here. I know ER needs to stay together, so I'm going to break here. All right, let's read the first, closed. So this is short. Sk-at, brain, scatterbrain. Have any of you ever felt that way? When you've got a lot of stuff to do and you just can't kind of get it together, you may feel scatterbrained. All right, this is the end of day 3. We're moving into day 4. On day 4, what we're going to do is we are going to practice writing some sentences, okay? So you need a piece of paper. For day 4, we're going to write, looks like 1 or 2 sentences together. All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. Sentence number 1. The doe skin came from the doe. All right. Cups is here. First letter needs to be capitalized. The doe skin, compound word, came. Remember, you're writing this with me, and our lights just went out. From the doe. Okay, am I finished? Let's see. Capital letter at the beginning, yes. Does this make sense? The doe skin came from the doe. Yes. Uh-oh. Do I have punctuation? Oh, see, that's how cups works. It helps me remember. And then spelling, I did spell those correctly. Now, when you're in the traditional classroom, your teacher may ask you to rewrite the sentence on one line because we typically don't write with everything spaced out. This is just to help us. So I'm not going to do that right now, but that is something that you will be asked to do. All right, let's do one more. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's find us a sentence. All right, let's try this one. I think 1, 2, yeah. Okay. She will bake a hoe cake at home. And I think a hoe cake is just, it's like cornbread, but it's fried kind of like a pancake. Tastes good. All right. She, capital, will bake, I hear a long A hoe cake at home. Now I'm not going to forget again. Capital, makes sense, punctuation, and spelling. All right, and again, there was a space where you could write the whole thing. Okay. That was day 4. I wanted on day 4 for you to practice writing these sentences on a piece of paper, and then you're going to go to Schoology and you're going to read some fluency sentences to a parent or any adult that you have. All right. The last thing we're going to do is a practice spelling test. So you will need a piece of notebook paper. And for our practice spelling test today, we are going to do 10, 11, 12 words in one sentence. 12 words in one sentence, okay? So we'll have 10 phonetic words. That means you can sound them out. We're going to have 2 red words, and then we're going to write one sentence. All right, let's do it like we did last week. I will say them, and I'm going to write them over here. And then at the end of the video, I will show you the answer key, and your adult can check it for you. Okay? All right, so here we go. Number 1, doe. The doe frolicked in the forest. I think it's written down. Okay, it's okay. Doe. All right, number 2, woeful. That would be if you were very sad. You would be full of woe. You were woeful. And you may not have heard that word, but just think about your sound of the week is O says, or OE says O, and I will tell you that it has that in there. All right, your next one is toenail. Number 3, toenail, compound word. Remember that you are absolutely allowed to pause, write, and then move on. Okay, so if I'm going too fast, then just pause until you're ready. 4, oboe. The boy plays the oboe. 5, Joe. Joe is my friend. Joe. Number 6, Mo. 7, tiptoe. Tiptoe. 8, aloe. Sometimes you put aloe on like a burn. Aloe. 9, foe. We've talked about this a few times in this week. Foe is an enemy. 10, doe skin. All right, red word number 1. So if you're on a piece of notebook paper, maybe skip a line for your first red word. Could. And red word number 2, many. And then your last part of your spelling test is a sentence. And here's the sentence. Did Joe stub his toe? Did Joe stub his toe? Think about what ending mark would need to go at the end of that. Did Joe stub his toe? All right, pause. Check all of your words. Get your adult and have them check your paper against my paper. Okay? All right, so here's my paper. And I'm going to stop the video here so that you can check your paper.